having to sell their family home, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It is. So my suggestion to them is before closing, before we turn over the keys to the new people, have a party. Have one last party at the house.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to the Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and joining us on this episode, letting us pick her brain about her experience in her market, we have the pleasure of speaking with Lisa Sobell. How are you, Lisa?
I'm good. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be a guest here on the Closing Table. We appreciate that first and foremost. But yeah, we are here to talk about what's going on in your market. Specifically, I want to talk in great detail about it. But before we even head in that direction, let's start off with something to loosen up, an icebreaker for you called word association. And I got about 5 words all related to real estate. And you just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. I don't care if it's a word, a sentence, definition, story, whatever. You
That's
ready?
fun. I'm ready.
Let's go. First one for you. Home buyer.
Nervous.
Mm. Offer.
Exciting.
Safety.
Safety first.
Cold calling.
No. I don't like cold calling at all.
That's interesting. And last one, staging.
Staging is so important. Staging can make or break it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Like that. That gets us into the psyche of Lisa a little bit, and we appreciate you for starting off like that, Lisa. All right, so let's keep it going now. I want you to take some time, if you can, as much detail as you can in 60 seconds or less also. Tell us who you are outside of real estate, please.
Okay, well, I have a son who he's 26 now, but he was very involved in sports. So I continue to be involved in Downriver sports and sponsoring different teams, um, football teams, hockey. I did sponsor a baseball team.
Okay.
So yeah, I just stay involved that way and with the kids and the parents.
Love it. Mother, active mother at that, involved with everything. So yeah, I love to hear that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about where you do your business first and foremost. Describe your market twofold. One, talk about it geographically. Give us much detail and paint that picture for our audience who may have never been to your market. Talk about it, and then second fold, let's talk about what's going on in real estate number statistics that you may have for us.
Okay, great. So generally, my office is in Southgate, Downriver, right off I-75, and I pretty much stick to Downriver, but I also do quite a bit in Monroe County.
Okay.
And I go out as far as lately Jackson County. I just closed a house in Grass Lake and showed some houses out there too. Going to show some more houses, lakefront property. So I have been pretty much all over the southern lower peninsula as far as sales and showings go, but I did have a couple of showings up in Whitefish Bay once when we were on vacation, which was kind of fun. That was right on Lake Superior, and it was a beautiful area. So
nice. Okay. Do you have any information regarding what's going on economically with real estate in your market by any chance?
yes. So in our area, we are down as far as sales go about 2,500 sales from this time last year.
Oh, wow.
So that means that it's still a very strong seller's market. Days on market has been a huge improvement since the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year, we were close to 30 days on market. Now we're at 9. Yeah. So if it's priced right in the sweet spot, it's going to sell. And our average sales price for this area is $265,000. But
not too bad.
It's not too bad at all. And I have new buyers. You mentioned new buyers before, and their price range just usually isn't that high. We are still seeing homes in like the 150 range, 170 range, but that is getting fewer and further between as time goes on. Right. And we only have a 2-month supply on the market at this point. So The market is tight. It's still a seller's market. It's a little bit more balanced for buyers right now as far as negotiations, but it's still difficult for them, and especially the brand new buyers.
Right. I'm a little bit familiar with the Downriver area, and for our audience who's not clear, we're talking about Michigan. The Downriver would be like the southern part between Metro Detroit and like the border of is that Ohio right there? Pretty
Yeah.
much, kind of
Yes.
like there.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
so yeah, are you born and raised in that area of Downriver?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
So yes, I mean
good.
I've lived here my whole life, but I have friends everywhere, and of course they have vacation properties, so I go anywhere they go.
Nice. All right, so I want to have a little bit of fun here. All right, I like to ask this question to our agents and guests here on the closing table. You see a lot of houses, you see a lot of properties, and everybody lives differently. Everybody's lifestyle is different. So, can you talk about one of the weirdest or most strangest things that you've ever seen in a property?
Oh yeah. Okay. Um, mm, there what I have two. So the
Please.
first one, I'll just I'll save the best one for last. The first one, I was showing a property to one of my friends, Chris, and it was a very strange house in our hometown. And I tried to block out most of it. He tells the story better, but the basement was set up for. I'm not really sure. I'm not. It was questionable what the basement was set up for, but they had little Tykes toys down there as well. It was very disturbing to me. So I just kind of,
Ah.
and we we got out of there. He didn't buy
Oh
the house.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that was weird. And this one's funny. It's also in our hometown. And this was back when we still had a lot of foreclosures that we were showing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big house, one of the biggest houses in Riverview. But it was foreclosed,
Mm-hmm.
bank owned, and it was raining inside the house at the
Whoa.
fireplace. Yeah, it was water was coming in. It was a bad downpour. And I like to show houses in the rain and the snow when it's melting because you get to see what's leaking.
Ooh, good point. Good
And
point.
that's important. I don't cancel showings because of that. But in
I
this case,
love that. Yeah.
yeah, it's important to see, and you got to really look at the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a raccoon family right at the base of the fireplace in the family room, and apparently she had just given birth. I felt like we disturbed a special moment, so we left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
wasn't real happy. She
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
"Thank you."
That's scary. I don't mess with raccoons. I'm sorry. They look nice. They look friendly. They got hands
Yeah,
and they
they
can
do.
point to you and throw up the peace sign. But no, that's kind of scary.
They
Yeah, you
were
know, a
really
mom don't play
cute.
about her children either.
No,
So, you know.
right, right, yeah.
Let me go back to that first story
Hmm.
because the fact that like you didn't even really describe it for real and I felt weird about it. I felt creeped out about it. So this is a question I want to ask. In situations like that, what do you do to kind of prepare yourself and your clients to be safe when you're going entering homes that you may not know what's inside?
Right, right. Well, first of all, I tell all my clients we're probably being recorded. Really, anywhere we go now,
Mm.
we're probably being recorded, whether it's the store, um, anywhere, either audio or visual or both.
Mhm.
So I always tell them, if you want to discuss anything, let's do it. Let's do it in the car by phone on the way back because even the Ring cameras can pick up sound
Mhm.
down to the bottom of the driveway.
Mhm.
So that is the first thing I do. The second thing I do is, well, I do have a CPL, so I'll go in first
There you go.
and make sure everything's good, especially if we have little kids with us or whatever. And if it's not, then we don't go in. We just don't
Okay.
go in. But in that case, it was a vacated house, and I did speak to the listing agent about that, and she told me that the basement was like that when her seller bought it, and he had little kids, so he just stored the little tyke stuff in that one particular room, and
Mm.
it was probably not a good idea to do that because I'm sure I'm not the only one that had questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Not
You
a
know,
good look. Yeah.
no, no, but going a little bit deeper into that, if we see anything questionable, of course, we would have to report it.
Right.
You know, I
Okay.
mean, everybody lives their life their own way, but if little kids are involved and it's sketchy, it has to be
Yep.
reported.
Rightfully
So,
so.
yeah,
Rightfully so. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the whole safety aspect of your profession is not highlighted enough. And I'm starting to learn more about it, which is why I asked, because
right,
I'm thinking, yeah, you go into these homes and yeah, I mean, most times you might think of a real estate agent going into mansions all the time, but that's not always the case. They're going into homes that no one's probably been in years sometimes,
right,
and then you come into situations where you might find a raccoon or some weird things in different rooms. So yeah, I'm glad you do what you have to do to protect yourself and your
right,
clients and your
right.
clients. Your use of sneak previews to jumpstart the marketing process, very intriguing. I saw that when I did some research on you. Can you provide an example of how this strategy effectively engaged buyers and generated interest for a property?
Oh, sure. Well, I go about it the way I would like my property marketed. That's how I market to people and how I would go about finding a home.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to get all the photography done and then get a coming soon listing in place. I don't like to do an extended coming soon. You know, we have restrictions on the MLS. It has to be within, I believe it's 7 days, and then it has to go live for showings. But I like a couple of days for a coming soon so that prospective buyers can take a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then by Thursday, we're live. I have one in Southgate that just went live today, and we have 7 showings. So that really gives it a boost. It really kicks up the interest.
Nice,
Does.
nice. Builds that anticipation.
Right.
Right, right, right. And just for clarity too, can you just describe what sneak previews are for our audience?
Right. Well, sneak previews, they could be videos. I'm not real big on doing live videos because I want to edit and re-edit, and it's not the point. The point is just to get it out there and show the house quickly because people don't have a lot of time to look. So I get the photography done, and sometimes reels are provided, or I could create a reel and then upload that to Instagram and Facebook at the same time. And that way people can just, watch. Because if you're standing in line waiting your turn, that's what I do. I flip
Yeah.
through and I look at stories until it's my turn. So it gets a lot of, I see a lot of success with that.
Mm.
Mhm.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's the way nowadays. Having that digital presence and a lot of these algorithms nowadays are rewarding you for those reels and those videos and that type of content. So
Right.
if you do what the algorithm wants, it feeds you also, and it shares it amongst more people, and it has a better reach. So
That's right.
great marketing strategy, I want to say. Let's
Thank
talk about a little bit of conflict within your profession, Lisa.
you.
So, different scenarios occur with different situations and transactions. We talked about going into certain homes. Well, what about before you even make it inside a home? Dealing with outside factors such as neighbors. Have you ever had an issue with a neighbor, a conflict with the neighbor and maybe the seller or anything like that with a transaction where you had to do some mediation?
Yes, I have. Without getting too specific, it usually happens with fencing, for instance,
Ah,
or a tree that needs to be removed, for instance. And who's going to pay for that? And how are we going to do
mm-hmm.
this? Um, property lines.
Yep.
Property lines seem to be the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the thing is that a survey, when subdivisions are designed and planned, every lot is given a stake survey, a, a metal rod.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, especially in the older subdivisions, people get lawn sprinklers, irrigation systems, and they just pull them, not knowing what they're doing. And it's a problem.
Yeah.
So, in fact, in my neighborhood, there was one years ago that the husband did some landscaping and pulled the rods. Well, his wife, who was left behind, insists that her husband was right, but the survey says different. The
Mm.
survey says it is not, it's like
Survey
almost,
says.
You're wrong. So we all make mistakes,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
correct.
that it's almost 6 to 7 inches that belongs to the neighbors that had the survey done. So we have to go by that. Yep.
That's so crazy how something is minor. Well, I'm thinking you were about to say a couple of feet.
Mm-hmm.
6 or 7 inches
Six
can
or seven.
cause conflict between neighbors with
Yes.
property lines.
Right.
Whoa, what are we doing here? That's crazy.
It is
That's
crazy.
crazy. But
Yeah.
that's something that we don't think about either. You know, like you said, like something as simple as a survey could
Hmm.
kind of solve that. But when you get into those fences, like as soon as you said that, I said it makes sense.
It
Putting up
does.
those fences. My father's doing something right now with he's trying to grow trees along his property line until he gets a fence to kind
Right.
of get that taken care
Yeah.
of. But
Right.
it's a lot to think about. It's a lot more to it. It's a lot of more moving parts to property lines and fences than a lot of people think. So
Right.
it's interesting. Very,
Right.
very interesting.
I have a piece of vacant land that we weren't sure if, and it's not fenced or anything. It hadn't been
Hmm.
surveyed in quite a while, but the seller and I were thinking that the neighbor built a shed on his property or along the border within the easement. It's very close to the easement. It
Uh-oh.
looks like it's okay, and it's in his own property, but we were kind of worried there for a minute.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a problem.
Yeah. Okay. So you just said something. I'm gonna go back on. You said that there hasn't been a survey done on that lot in a while.
Hmm.
So with that being said, are you kind of saying that depending on how often the survey is done, like the property lines can change? Or I'm assuming if you have a survey done, that's the property line, correct? Please fill us
It
in.
should be. It should be. So, like I said, when the subdivisions are different than houses along where there are meets and bounds. Like out on Sibley Road or King Road, that's meets and bounds. It's different,
Mm-hmm.
but still needs a survey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the city has records of frontage and the lot dimensions, which is helpful. But a survey needs to be within 6 months of use,
Mm.
because if
Mm.
not, it can be debated. Um, Surveys now are much more accurate than they were. I mean, they were accurate in the 60s and 70s, but they're, much more accurate now.
Right.
And it's not that property lines change, but there may be a little bit of difference, a little wiggle room in what the city has and what the survey actually says. So, in legal
Mm.
terms, you got to go with the survey.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, I love learning new stuff here on the closing
yeah.
table. Thank you, Lisa. Okay. That's
You're welcome.
interesting. That's
And
interesting.
and and it's really an investment. I mean, getting a survey done is expensive, but it's
Really?
peace of mind. You know, you have that, and there's no question about where my fence can be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one more question about that. We usually hear about getting an inspection and appraisal done. Is survey included in that, or is that technically part of title work? Technically.
Well, so sometimes surveys are part of the mortgage process. It
Okay.
depends. So
Right.
sometimes a lender will want a survey done for the mortgage. That that doesn't happen all that often. Like if
Gotcha.
it's a subdivision, it shouldn't be necessary. And when a lender has asked for that in a sale that I've had in a subdivision, it's it's been waived because the lots have already been surveyed and it's planned out. Now, if somebody is buying a large piece of property and mortgaging it, then it'll probably need to be surveyed.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, it's the responsibility of the seller to get that done. Any contractor is not going to go ahead and do work on a property that's pending for the
Right.
buyer. It has to be the seller who initiates that process because the buyer doesn't own it yet. So it has to be
Oh,
some
okay.
cooperation there.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Enough about surveys. I know I can probably ask a few more questions about that. So thank you for informing us and giving us that knowledge. So I want to talk about a possible home or property. May not be weird or anything like that, but let's say, have you had any experience selling, listing, or helping someone buy a property that had unusual history or fascinating history or background? Maybe this house was featured in a movie or something like that, or
Yeah.
such and such celebrity used to stay here. Any stories of that nature?
Yes, my favorite one, and it's a happy story. Um, I was helping a couple, very nice couple, look for a condo downtown, either a condo or a loft. We looked at several,
Mm-hmm.
and one, well, no, so one came available in the 1300 Lafayette building downtown. It's a
Uh-huh.
beautiful building. It's just beautiful, and we made an offer on that. It was accepted. Something happened, it didn't go through, and then a better one became available that was actually a double. So
Mm.
it was double the square footage. It needed a lot of work, and this couple put, I mean, blood, sweat, and tears into this. It's a showpiece. It is just a showpiece. But the big draw for that condo for my people was the fact that Diana Ross lived in that building.
Oh, look at that. Oh, nice. That's what's
Yeah,
up.
and a few other celebrities, local celebrities, but Diana
Yeah.
Ross lived in the building, and that was a huge factor.
Isn't that crazy? She just lived
Yeah.
in a building. Like, it doesn't even say she lived in that specific one. She was just in this building. It was like, oh man, like, let's raise the
Yes,
price.
that's right. That's
That's
right.
crazy. Yeah.
Yes,
Oh yeah, that's wonderful. I love to hear stuff like that though. Okay. Beautiful Detroit history right there.
yeah,
So you also offer notary services, which
I
is
do.
very okay, very nice.
Yeah.
Extra hustles right there. So can you share a story about a situation where this additional service made a meaningful difference for a client beyond the scope of a traditional real estate transaction?
Well, it's a huge convenience, and
Mm-hmm.
I provide notary services for free for my clients forever. And now I can do that remotely online as well. So even if they're out of state, as long as I'm in Michigan, I can notarize online.
Nice.
So that's something extra I do now as well. But it's just a big convenience for them, whether they are um, closing on a house. I had one seller who was also selling a vacation property, and it was for sale by owner. He was selling his lakefront property by owner. So I just went to the house and did the closing paperwork for them. It
Mm.
saved them a ton of money, and it was a
Yeah.
huge convenience to them, and it made them happy. So why not? And even family members. So I've had clients that their mother needed something done. Of course, yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah.
That's one of those small but very important aspects of the real estate transaction. Also, just for clarity, can you please to talk about what a notary does and
Hmm.
how it benefits the clients during that real estate transaction?
Sure. Well, I'm not trained on doing the closings. So I'm not a
Okay.
closing. Um, I don't work for a title company,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that takes some training to close mortgages. But a notary makes sure that the person signing is that person. If it's somebody that I know and it's somebody who's known to me, I don't really need to see their driver's license or any
Right. Right.
photo ID. But in the case that it's somebody's mother or uncle, I would need to see ID just to
Mm-hmm.
make sure. And
Mm-hmm.
when I do my logs for notary, I note that known to me, personally known, or uncle of, and yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Good.
yeah, and I can do it's. I've done different notary, really official things for court. That they needed for court,
Mm-hmm.
reinstating driver's license. I've done that a couple of times. Um, what else? Medical. Yeah,
Okay.
just whatever they need, really.
Yeah, yeah, and I wanted you to highlight that too because that's like I said, that's one of those things that you don't think about at all, as
Hmm.
far as during either the real estate process or just important documents at all. Like that, notary is there to pretty much verify the
Hmm.
identification of the signees. That way, we
Right.
don't have any fraudulent signings and things of that nature going on. So,
That's
just
right.
wanted to put that out there. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
You have any heartwarming stories of a seller who had an emotional attachment to their home and you had to be the person to kind of show them the process of letting go and moving forward?
Yeah. It happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
People who grew up in a home having to sell their family home, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It is. So my suggestion to them is before closing, before we turn over the keys to the new people, have a party, have one last party at the house, whether it's just pizza and beer or a full dinner when you still have the dining room table, have your friends and family over and just have a party one last time.
I like that.
It's
I
just a
like
little
that.
closure and it helps. They take pictures and they seem to like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting to hear from your real estate agent. You know what you should do? Throw a party. Like, you know what? That's a good idea. I'm about to leave here anyway. Let's really turn this out.
That's right. That's right. Leave them
But
something to remember you by.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But no, but I 100% get it though. You know, like have those final moments with the people that you love, the people that you made those memories with in this home.
Right.
Have them come by, take
Yeah.
those pictures. And, you know, it's
Yes.
not too many points in life do you get a chance to actually end a chapter, to have closure to a chapter. And if you
Right.
can, you know, especially in an emotional situation like that, I can understand that. So
Oh yeah. It
kudos to
does
you.
help. Yeah, it helps with closure because I'm kind of a mushy person. I'm kind of emotional and smushy.
Mm-hmm.
So when my parents
Mm-hmm.
sold their house, we grew up in it. I had a hard time. Ooh. And my
Yeah.
parents are still alive. They just moved to a different
Yeah.
city. It's not
Right.
like there was that kind of closure too. It's just somebody else is going to be sleeping in my room. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
I
I
have one
know,
more
right?
time with that.
Man, I was so mad when my mom sold one of the houses that I grew up in too. And when we moved from another one, it was yeah, it was crazy. So I get
It
it. I get
is.
it. So
Yeah.
you know, oftentimes as a real estate agent, your job isn't done necessarily whenever you know help your client get into their home or sell their home. So
Right.
can you recount a situation where a past client reached out with questions after settling into their new home, and how did your ongoing support and expertise make a positive difference in their home ownership journey?
Oh, sure. So if they have a plumbing problem, for instance, I've got tons of referrals that I can give. I've got good plumbers, roofers that I use myself, so I know that they do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I only refer professionals to people that I would let work with my parents, people that I trust. So that's what I do, and I could give them a whole list. Say it's a fixer upper, and they
Mm-hmm.
need a plumber and a roofer and concrete. I've got great people. Tree removal. I've got it. I've got people. So I do share those things. Also, tax time. So when taxes are reassessed, Happy Valentine's Day. That's when you get your new assessment. Is Valentine's.
Really? Okay.
So that's when taxes go up. And when you buy a house, your taxes are reassessed. That opens it up to be
Mm-hmm.
reassessed. So
Mm-hmm.
I always invite my buyers to, give me their tax assessment, their new tax assessment, and that way I can run comps for similar homes in the neighborhood because the cities make mistakes. These things are the taxes are run by humans in
Right.
in that department, in the assessing department, and
Right.
sometimes taxes can be readjusted. Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, great work. Yeah, and that can help. That can definitely help someone who's a first time home buyer who may have nothing, you know, in regards to any knowledge that goes on with
Right.
taxes and stuff like that. They're like, oh, we finally got the keys. We're homeowners. Then
Yeah.
next thing you know, Valentine's Day come around. They're planning on go out. Then they get this bill,
Right.
that's taxes for them. So yeah,
Mhm.
having that additional information and having that available for clients, I can see that being very valuable. So
Yeah.
great,
Yes,
great
and there's
work.
a timeline too. The board of
Uh,
review for cities happens mid-March. You have to be on the schedule for that
mm, mm.
and bring everything. So there is a timeline for that too, or else you pay it.
Yeah. And I can see with that being said, I can see people forgetting, not paying attention to it. So that could be very helpful what you're
Yeah,
doing.
right.
All right. So Lisa, I find this to be a very valuable question myself, especially for our audience watching this who are potential home buyers and sellers for the most part. But let's take away anything that you have as far as homes right now, and let's say you are an inspiring first time home buyer in today's market right now, knowing what you know, the knowledge you know, and today's resources that are available, what approach would you take to owning a home in today's market?
Well, and my son being the age to buy a home, this is, very, very close to me. Homes are just more expensive. You have to have enough money saved for a down payment for moving expenses, I mean, when you're young, it's okay to call your friends and have them over and help you move because you can trade off and help them move.
Mm-hmm.
But, after a certain point, 50 years old, 45, you don't want to be moving people. Beer and pizza is not going to get it to move your friends. So
Mm-hmm.
you're going to need a moving company.
Mm-hmm.
That costs money. It's a couple $1,000s, you know, it
Mm-hmm.
is. So you got to have money for that. Also, the closing costs. So it's important to get a good lender who's going to go over all of that with you, itemized. This is what this is going to cost. An appraisal, you have to pay for up front. And an appraisal can be anywhere from $600 to $850. I don't think I've heard of it going much higher than that. 850 is about as high, but that has to be paid for before you can continue with your mortgage.
Mm.
And there have been instances where some of my buyers didn't know that. They didn't, their lender didn't tell them that. And it's like, yeah, you have to pay for that. That's not free. Appraisers are paid separately from everything else. So that is a cost. All of the costs that are not included and included need to be detailed. And also in the offer process, it's exciting writing offers, but it's also a little bit nerve wracking because,
Mm.
especially with first time home buyers, their budgets are really tight, and they may not have $5,000 extra cash to throw onto an appraisal guarantee. If they're buying a house that's listed for 150, they really want it. It's exactly what they want. They got to have it. And the offers are going, up to 170, 175. Well, they can go that high, but it's not going to appraise that high. So an appraisal
Mm.
guarantee, say $5,000, guarantees that seller is going to at least have that gap covered by $5,000. So if it appraises at 160, say, they're at least going to get $5,000 ahead. So if it's a,
Mm.
if the offer is 175, it appraises at 160, they'll get the 160 definitely,
Nice. Okay.
to cover it. And even more if you want to throw more at it. There are also escalation clauses, which I always explain to my buyers. The younger ones don't seem to understand it as much as the ones my age, but buying something on eBay,
Right.
everything. So if you buy something on eBay and it's got a reserve, you got to meet that reserve, that
Mm-hmm.
asking price. But what are you willing to go up to?
Mm-hmm.
So an escalation of 500 or 1,000, then that will get you your offer accepted up to your ceiling. So
Got you.
it's really about having enough money to play with and throw it an offer to
Ooh.
make it really solid for a seller, because when something comes in, and appraisals have been coming in low, they have been. My
Really?
last 5 sales, 4 of them have come in low.
Mm.
It's maddening.
Yeah.
So
I love the information that you gave there. The little other nuances about payments that you have to make, especially the moving. Let me tell you something, Lisa. That one
yes.
struck a chord because I had this talk with one of my friends like probably like 2 or 3 days ago. We're in our mid-30s at this point, and he said, Kev, I love you, but when you move, I am not going to help you move. We are not in our 20s anymore. He said, he said the exact thing you said, beer and pizza is not going to do it. He said, if anything, I'll give you $50 towards moving company. I said, $50? Hey, just say you don't want nothing to do with me, man. Like
Right.
$50 is not going to do nothing for.
That's not,
But
yeah.
it's funny because when you said that, I just had this conversation, and I used to be the one to just call all my friends and start moving, but I might be at that age where I can't call my friends.
Right.
I can't
Right.
call my friends.
We have back issues. It hurts.
Oh,
Getting
my
up in
back
the
hurts
morning.
right now. My
You
back
know,
hurts right now as we speak.
yeah.
That's funny. Thank you so much, Lisa. We appreciate you for pulling up a chair to the closing table. At this point, if you have any last words and or want to tell people how to reach out to you, please do so now.
Well, my last words are, pick your real estate agent and your lender and do your research, because a good real estate agent can make or break a deal, but so can a good lender,
Mhm.
and a good lending company. And I have a short list of lending companies that aren't great. So contact me. I'm not going to say it online, but contact me.
There
Yep.
it
You
is.
can call me, text me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much again, Lisa. We appreciate you again. And for our YouTube audience watching right now, if you've gotten to this point in the episode, do us both a favor and please hit that like button. Make sure you also share the content and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. And Lisa, I always like to leave our audience with a question before we leave the chat, just to get their brains going. So this is for you, audience. Do you think a realtor who provides other services throughout the transaction is a conflict of interest, or is that something you prefer? Why or why not? Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.